We did it.
Well, I'd like to invite everybody to the August Metropolitan School District North Posey Board meeting, and please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item is the vision, mission, core beliefs, and high priorities.
Our vision is we inspire all students to achieve their potential for learning in life in a safe and supportive environment. Our mission is we partner with our community to create a dynamic and innovative educational experience, empowering students to become educated, productive, and responsible citizens. Our core beliefs, we believe our community is vital to our educational success. Everyone is valued and treated with respect and always telling the truth, and educational opportunity for all. Student-centered program, challenging and inspiring learning, and in the pursuit of excellence through a strong sense of pride. Our high priorities are enhancing the student experience, investing in teachers and administrators, fostering strong relationships among all, and maximizing resources.
All right. So next item on the agenda is the patron concerns, and we'll note that we have none signed up for patron concerns. And then we'll move on to the fun part of the evening. So the first recognition that we're going to make tonight is for a letter of commendation for Miss Carrie Schmidt on her, throughout her career, you have demonstrated a commitment to the staff and students of North Posey High School in providing a positive learning culture. In addition, you have brought a sense of professionalism to the position and demonstrated your commitment to establish a higher standard of excellence. Throughout the years, you have dedicated your time to ensuring the academic teams are prepared to compete at a high level within state competitions. In several of these instances, the teams have captured state championships, making North Posey High School a leader among the state. In addition, you have worked to create a dynamic learning environment for your students within the classroom through English and German. The Metropolitan School District of North Posey Board of Trustees and Administration sincerely appreciate your efforts in establishing a high standard of excellence. In addition, the board wishes to make a commendation a permanent record among the minutes to recognize your achievement as the IHSAA Championship Educator. We congratulate you on this honor and recognition it brings to North Posey High School and our community.
Thank you very much. Oh, appreciate it.
Mhm.
Oh, wait.
Me too.
You too.
As they all have.
Okay.
It's all right, they ate that way.
Right.
All right, and the next one is a resolution of appreciation in recognition of the 2023 North Posey High School Girls Indiana Athletic Association Softball State Championship. Whereas the hard work and dedication, sportsmanship, talent, and exceptional team chemistry of the 2023 North Posey High School girls softball team has enabled these student athletes to earn a Class 2A Indiana High School Athletic Association State Championship with a perfect season of 29-0. Whereas winning the 2023 Class 2A Indiana High School Athletic Association State Championship brought honor in recognition to North Posey High School and the North Posey community on a local, state, and national level. And whereas head coach Gary Gentile and the entire coaching staff, team members, parents, faculty, students, and community of North Posey High School were integral in guiding the team to victory through their unwavering support. Now, therefore, it be resolved that this resolution of appreciation be made part of the permanent record among the minutes of this Board of Education. Do hereby recognize and heartily congratulate the 2023 Lady Vikings softball team of North Posey High School on their fairy tale season and historical championship. This resolution was made duly, or will be made duly, and seconded and adopted this 14th day of August 2023. Thank you.
I guess definitely we should get a picture
Yeah.
of all of them.
Yes, please.
Would you ladies mind if we all get a picture together?
Speeches for them.
They would love it.
Hey,
Oh, they
each of them?
have speeches. Oh, excuse me.
Well, if anybody wants to speak, right ahead,
We were just.
and I will hand these out.
Okay, yeah, okay. Wasn't it nice?
Kevin, you were supposed to get the speech, right?
No, you don't get one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. It's a computer to
Yes.
listen.
Mhm.
Yeah, some of them are on the volleyball court right now.
Yep.
That's for sure.
We did that framed one to put into the trophy case.
That's what I said, I was gonna get the
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys want a picture?
Yeah.
Well, if they want to talk first.
Oh, they're not.
I don't think
they're
they're
not.
not. Well, where's the song?
You sing it?
I think, don't you guys make little TikTok dances and stuff? Sure, you got one for us.
A couple of them just got painted to the floor.
Well, you do have to get a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do, I would like a picture. We usually use that blank wall over there.
Going over there.
If you guys want to turn it.
This wall. Where at? This wall.
Usually in that wall, because there's nothing in the background
Okay.
to interfere.
Just barely.
Oh, well, you guys don't want to be in it? You in it?
You guys will. Let me get in the back.
Oh, no, don't do one line. You gotta kind of bunch up. So you're not, so we see faces. Otherwise, we'll never see all your faces. There you go. There you go. That looks great. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. That looks nice. Okay, good, good. Good. I think I'm- And then I'll probably send the names to Amy and maybe she can tell me. Oh, I know. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Congratulations. Great job. Great job. Good, thank you, guys. Good day this weekend.
How's it going?
Tournament this weekend.
Yeah, I did. Well, I
Thank
got
you.
2 weeks and then I'm
Oh, did you have to say one?
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
I heard Caleb's caddy let him down this week. Yeah. Caleb's caddy did good to make it all 72 holes.
Uh-huh. There are professional caddies that didn't make it all 72 holes this weekend. There's one that backed out of it.
Really?
Yeah, it was too hot in Memphis. All right, next item on the agenda, minutes, claim docket, and consent items. Looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, sorry.
Good.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the consent items as listed.
Got a motion by Mrs. Will, second by Mr. Oakley. Any comments? Discussion?
Special transportation for foster youth. What exactly does that involve?
So we're required by federal law to share in transportation if a foster child is residing out of our district and attending in our district, or residing in our district and attending a different district. And so the two corporations that sort of have the child, whether they're attending or residing, share in that transportation cost. That's a requirement. There's nothing we can do about that. But we do have some Title I dollars that we set aside every single year for foster youth transportation. I think it's about $3,500 that we set aside. If there's something that, goes all year, we'll eat that up pretty quickly, because transportation is expensive. The situation that we currently have, we have a student residing in a foster home in Evansville and needing to be transported here. And so we have a teacher that lives close to that location. We are using one of the activity buses that's equipped with cameras just for the safety of the student and the teacher, since it's one student, one teacher, and having that transport back and forth. We are splitting that cost with EVSC, and so we'll bill EVSC monthly for that.
Is that a set cost that?
We use our mileage rate, the same that we bill for like our ECA clubs and that kind of thing for the activity bus. We have a rate that we use, and our transportation secretary, Laura Englert, she figures all of that monthly. And so that'll be time carded. The teacher will submit a time card through each pay period, and then the gas fees will be submitted, and then we'll bill EVSC for their part.
Is this just a part-time foster location, or is this a permanent location? Or, I mean, if it becomes permanent, would we still have to continue to pay for it?
If it were to become permanent in the sense of like adoption,
Okay.
then no, it would no longer be, they would not be considered foster youth anymore at that point in time. But yeah, we probably have, since school has started, I've received probably 10 different foster youth situations that either we are the residing district or we're the school district.
Do the homes, like if we're not the residing district, the homes that they go to decide they're coming here?
So
Or they were already from here?
The process, there's a process that we go through that includes the case management system, but then also the schools have to sign off as well. It's called a best interest determination. And so the case managers will meet with the families, the students, and kind of determine, what's in the best interest. So for example, one student that was enrolled in our school district was removed from the home. The foster family was in Warwick County. Well, it's typically in the best interest to keep the child in the school they've been in. That's the primary. But in that situation, the length of drive and the age of child was not conducive to keep them in the school that they were in. So the best interest determination by the case committee was to go ahead and transfer the student. So then I signed that, like I talked with the principals. I get all of those. I talk with the principals and say, I don't have a problem with signing off that this is in the best interest. They also will tell me if there's anything, typically we don't disagree with what gets presented to us because they do a pretty good job of
Thank you for responding.
determining that.
Any other questions?
I saw a thing come across my email, and it was gone before I had a chance to read it. Jared Yulee is out on FMLA. Was there some kind of program to help raise money or something for that?
Yeah,
Is it already gone, or?
no, you can still make a donation to Brad Wallace. He's collecting that.
Brad Wallace, okay.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. You bet.
First up this evening, we have, this is something new that came out of last year's legislative session. Effective January 1st of 2024, the school lunch and textbook funds are to be held at the central office. This was at the high school. And so Carolyn Price, Sean Fisher, and Amy Duvall were kind of overseeing those funds and stuff. Now they're going to be moved here to the county office or central office, so they'd be underneath direction of myself, Amanda Lynn, and then Jody Rankin. We went ahead and made this switch on July 1st because that's the end of our fiscal year. It was just a lot cleaner to do it that way rather than waiting till January. So I think I told you guys in your newsletters that when you see your fund list, those two accounts now will be on your fund list, and you'll be able to see how much money is in those. The textbook portion that was rolled in was $83,660.69, and that's going to fall over into the 0900 accounts. The school lunch portion is $292,991.31, which will be incorporated into the 800 accounts. The food and trust account of $15,789.47 will be placed in the 8400 account. And that's mainly food and trust is like people who paid ahead for their lunches and stuff. So like if you go in, you put, like I put $80 on my kid's account, that's where that money is sitting at and stuff. So we're mainly doing what's been dictated to us by state law, but we needed to get your approval because then we have to make changes at Fifth Third because now those accounts will have to fill out their signature cards and they have to have this information in the minutes to make those changes and stuff on the signature cards.
All right, looking for a motion to approve the account transfers.
I'll make a motion to approve the account transfer.
I'll second
And a motion by Mrs. Bowers, seconded by Mr. Colley to approve the transfer. Any discussion on the item?
Who'd done these before? Was this just done by the?
It was done by Carolyn at the high school.
High
Yeah.
school, okay.
Yeah. So now I think Jody is going to take on the textbook fund, and then Amanda's going to take care of Jody's going to take on the cafeteria fund. Amanda's going to take on the textbook fund, which really isn't that big of a deal. It's mainly just paying bills because we're no longer collecting textbook fees.
Mhm.
They don't really collect lunch money that much anymore,
Oh, yeah.
either, do they?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a fee to pay it online.
That's why I thought, if you pay it online, there's
Yeah,
a
so
fee.
it's
Oh,
easier
okay.
to send
Yeah.
a check.
Yeah. So we write a check and drop it off.
But she had just today $3,000 worth of just credit card transactions.
Yep.
So it's the cafeteria portion of it's still huge.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of the transfer, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0.
So the next one kind of follows along the same line with textbooks. Underneath the new state law, we are allowed to charge for damages. So this can be a textbook damage, it can be a Chromebook damage. I checked with some of the people in the district, and we've never had anything like this actually written down. And so we wanted to actually get this posted onto our webpage so that parents are aware of this. I had Heather Moreland kind of take a look at the textbook damages and whether those charges made sense. And then I had Jake take a look at the Chromebook damages, which we've had that in place for a while, the Chromebook damages. And so we just have to bring this to the board for your approval. The only other thing that we talked about, Michelle and I talked about today, just kind of want to clarify with you is those items that are, how we phrase it, higher education, more or less, if they're taking like a USI class or an IB Tech class or dual credit, the kids would be responsible for those costs because that's kind of a choice on their aspect. And that came out today through our superintendent study council and pretty well everybody across the board. Actually, I think everybody across the board is doing the same thing. So, but anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you that information in case anybody asks about how we're handling that. But so this would be posted on our webpage. The building level treasurers would collect this, and then it would be submitted to central office. So we bring that forward for your consideration.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve the textbook and Chromebook damage charges.
I'll make a motion to approve the textbook and Chromebook damage charges.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Oakley, seconded by Mrs. Bowers to approve the Chromebook charges. Any discussion? I have one thing. We can replace a page for $1. That seems low.
She felt like that was
Okay.
good.
Probably photocopy.
I'm assuming a photocopy, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta attach it somehow, right? I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Next up this evening, we have the explanation of the 2024 budget, and they have a hard copy, Amy, if you don't want to have to work with it. So, so just for those of you who do not know, prior to even my arrival, the district worked with Ryan Harmon, who used to be superintendent at North Gibson and is now superintendent, I think, at Lagodi, who helped out in putting together the budget. Carol does a phenomenal job. Really, quite honestly, she was a huge loss, for us in that accounting department. She still assisted Amanda this year with putting together this budget. And so we're just going to kind of walk through this, because then what we're required to do is you'll give permission to advertise the budget through Gateway. And so what we'll do is, once you say, yeah, we're good to move forward with advertisement, we'll advertise it. And at the September 11th meeting, we'll do the public hearing. We'll probably come back and talk about it again, just to kind of refresh everybody. And then the October board meeting, you'll actually vote to approve this budget. So, so first off, and I updated your the proposal or the plan that we put online. A couple of things that we've not received yet. That first slide that you had in your online presentation was the tax cut, property tax cuts or caps. We do not have that yet from the state. We don't know what that is. Usually it's around about $75,000, $76,000 for us as a district. And those are usually spread across your property tax-based account. So that would be your debt services, and as well as your operations budget is where that money is usually pulled from. So the first slide that you have there is your education fund. Of course, this is mainly what pays for your teachers as well as your principals. And there's a small portion of this fund that really kind of goes, when you really look at it in the scheme of things, that goes towards classroom materials and supplies. So your projected cash balance on 12/31/2023, the end of this year, would be $1,840,506. At this time, we are building our budget around the 1385 number for our ADM. And so based upon that number, the basic grant would be $10,905,000. And I will tell you that I didn't get a number today, but on Friday, we were showing at about 1426. So we are much higher than what we've been in the past. We're still pulling kids out, so I don't want to say that that's a definite number, but it's better to be way above 1385 than below 1385. So we're in good shape on that aspect of it. So that would actually be additional funds that would be coming into the district. Miscellaneous revenue. So what miscellaneous revenue really refers to is your summer school. It can be summer school. It can be any type of interest that we receive. It can, in the past, it may have been student fees. It's just kind of miscellaneous. And so we usually look at the history of that and kind of make a very conservative guess of what we think that amount will be. So then you have there kind of your total revenue. And so the next line there is transfer to operations fund. And what that means is, if you remember, we are permitted to transfer 15% from an education fund to our operations fund. And the reason why they did that is because when they changed this a few years ago, they moved some things that were originally paid out of education fund over to operations fund. And so people said, well, we need some money to be able to cover those costs. And so they said, okay, well, we'll allow you to transfer up to 15%. Now, for us as a district, we're right around about 14% to 14.5% is what we were transferring. But if you took the basic grant is what they figure that 15% on, then we could actually transfer $1,635,000. Now, I will tell you, when we look at our cash flow sheet, I told Amanda that we will not transfer that amount. 1.5 is about what we transfer. So because if we transferred this full amount, it would hit our education fund quite a bit. And right now, we don't really need to be moving that money over. So our total education fund revenue for appropriations is $11,057,000. It should be 700 there, not 70. So 11,050,700. So then at the top there, what you see is approximate appropriations for 2024. And so Carol kind of looked at it with Amanda, and they said that based upon the appropriations, they're looking at, for 2024, we're looking at about a $9,891,575 for appropriations for next year. Any questions on that one? Okay. So the next slide is our operations fund. This is, of course, supported by property taxes. And so our projected cash balance on 12/31/2023 is going to be $3,341,104. Our property taxes that we are having come in is going to be $3,630,000. Our license excise tax also comes into that, which is $215,000. Our commercial vehicle excise tax is $22,800. Our financial institutions tax is $52,300. And our total revenue is $7,261,204. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but keep in mind that that projected cash balance up there, that means that we're not going to spend anything for the rest of the year. So what happens usually is we still have a lot of appropriations to spend, and so that will be much lower than what that is. Of course, you have the transfer from education fund to operations fund of $1,635,000. So that gives us a total revenue of $5,626,204. Okay, and that's what we build our budget upon. And the operations fund is a little bit different in that you advertise high, because what will happen is that the Department of Local Government Finance will come back and that tax rate will be much lower than that. So you advertise at the highest possible rate that you can, and then usually they adjust it and down and stuff. So we're looking at approximate appropriations of $5,600,000. And what we usually ask, if you remember correctly, is you'll have a resolution that you'll pass in the October board meeting, and it will allow us, Amanda, to go in, because if they cut our budget, it will allow us to go in there and fix it based upon how much they say we're going to have. So that's kind of how that works. So usually what we do with our budget is we put some things in there that we know that, okay, when they cut our budget, we can go back and we can cut this line. Any questions on that one? The next line, or the next slide, is dealing with our capital projects plan. And so we are required by law that when we put our budget out there on Gateway, that we also provide our public with a capital projects plan. The one I sent to you was much smaller than this, and as I started thinking over the weekend, I wanted to be transparent with our community of what are all the projects we're looking at. Not necessarily may they be paid out of operations fund, but they could, depending upon which direction the board goes in. And so what I've listed here, and some of these are ballpark figures based upon past construction things. So North Elementary School classroom remodel, $300,000, and that's over a 3-year period. And the reason why I do that is because your capital project plan, it has to be what you think is going to be happening in the next 3 years. So that's kind of what you put out there for that. And of course, you alter this because things pop up, emergencies happen, and suddenly maybe the priorities you had or the thoughts you had suddenly changes and you have to go a different direction. The next one is just North Posey High School, North Posey Junior High School security enhancements for $300,000. This would be, once again, our keyless entry as well as new doors. And this one we would probably partner with our security grant as well. North Elementary School, South Terrace Elementary School preschool through 3rd grade furniture, I listed that there for $350,000. The North Posey High School gymnasium ceiling upgrade of about $500,000. The North Posey High School scorers table of $21,000. The North Posey High School baseball scoreboard of $15,000. The next two items are lot resurfacing, parking lot resurfacing. And when I looked back, we haven't done this since 2019. And the principal said that this is a pretty routine kind of thing that they usually do. So I put this into the budget as well. Then, of course, the North Posey 5th and 6th grade playground upgrade, $30,000. And then North Posey Junior High School science classrooms, $200,000. And then the North Posey Junior High parking lot resurfacing for $200,000. Are there any other things or projects that you would like to see added? It has to be over a threshold of $10,000. And so, you know, if there's something else you want to add on that list, we can definitely put that in there.
Nothing to add, but I just feel like the science classroom needs to happen soon in 2025. I don't know if that can happen.
Yeah.
Anybody, it is so old.
It's the same as you remember.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
just like what, I mean, I know that's a big number to, and I know 2024 is around the corner, but
Now, before we talked about this being on the bond issue, right? Now it's
Correct.
here.
Yes, so some of these will be on the bond and stuff. I just wanted to be transparent that if
So
someone's,
that could be hooked up to the bond.
correct, yes.
okay.
Because your taxpayers most likely, you're just gonna see the project getting done. They may not know where that money comes from. And so I didn't want them coming back saying, well, this isn't on your capital projects plan. And so I just wanted to make sure that we're transparent and that it's there.
One of the things, this has nothing to do with any of this, but when they redo the parking spots and stuff like that at school, they need to put more handicap parking in.
Yeah.
I never realized how much we're missing it, you know?
Yeah.
I parked there all year last year. I think I used a handicap spot one time.
I'm surprised there's not more right
You
there.
put
by
one
the
just for Mr.
gate.
Collins out there. No,
You could paint you a spot like
I
the.
We painted this
Yeah.
weekend.
It does need to be more spots out there.
And then as well, I think Larry, that, because I know we dealt with this at my last district, when you start doing that stuff, you, depending upon how many lots you have to have so many handicap parking spots. There also has to be a certain number of van handicap parking spots, you know, so once you get into that process, most parking lot people should know what those
Yeah.
requirements are.
Well, another thing I was gonna say, you know, in the high school lot there, it's like the two on the end and one in the second row or something. But most of the people with handicap spots park along the curb. Maybe they'll just make the curb all handicapped to keep other people from parking that.
That's what he just said, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And that
And
would
you could
make,
probably temporarily do it for activities or whatever.
yeah, that would almost make more sense because they'd be there and it would
Mhm.
keep them from being used
Right.
properly.
And like Larry said, we are also getting pricing on the upstairs bleachers as well. So I know Lee Company has been in and talked to Wayland and got measurements and things like that. So we are working on that process. The other thing too that I shared with you during the working session that's not on the list at this time, because we really just don't know, is the wastewater treatment plant. And as I shared in the working session, what we're mainly doing is we are working with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They are working towards more of a regional water or wastewater treatment. And so they feel like that we can, you know, it's a very good project for us to hook into the Waitsville, Blairsville sewage system. And so they're working on trying to get us grants to possibly cover up to 60 to 70% of that cost that we would have. And I don't even know if all that cost would be passed on to us directly, because if they came out to the high school, there's some subdivisions that would also be hooked in too. So, you know, when they looked at the linear feet, which is the way I understand it, being determined, it's around $1 million to run it from where their last stop is over to the high school. But like I said, that could be covered through other things. But they look at your socioeconomic status for that area, and that kind of helps to determine what percentage. So, you know, I'll keep you updated on that, but that's definitely a good opportunity for us to possibly get some assistance with that and kind of get that off the table going forward and stuff. And that could be something that suddenly becomes an emergency and maybe bumps something on that list. So the bus replacement plan, as we've shared with you, we're still doing our lease payment. This is a yearly payment that we usually make in January. So the payment is each 2020, it's going from 2022 till 2026. So.
And our actual payment is a little bit less than that, it's about $75,000 less, because of the bus cost, how the cost went up, and we had to eliminate one bus from the purchase. So our actual lease payment is just a little bit less than that. But our bus replacement plan had advertised the higher rates.
Have you heard any updates on
I checked early in the school year to see if anything, and they said that it was still at the Attorney General's office. So it'll probably be in 10 years. You know, you get one of those comments. Like,
Here's your 20 cents left.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, the next debt services fund, estimated revenue and expenditures. These are the two debts that you have. The one is the debt payment for New Harmony. You can kind of see the project balance of $244,724,000. You have the different property taxes and the license excise tax, commercial tax, and financial institution tax that helps to fund that revenue. And that comes up to, and then of course you have your property tax. So local revenue total is $1,259,344. If you'll go over to the other side, bond leases, you will no longer have an unreimbursed textbook fund anymore. So used to what would happen is for your free and reduced lunch kids, you would get a certain amount of money from the state. That would be your unreimbursed textbook. And so we will not be receiving that money anymore. Really quickly to hit on the textbooks, we are supposed, the way we're hearing from the state, it's going to be around $154 per ADM. And that should be arriving around December is what they're projecting. So
Is that close to covering our costs?
when we, Jody figured it this past summer, looking at last year's costs, and we would have ate about $1,800 into our education fund. So, no. Yeah. So appropriations is $1,659,832. You will, don't panic on that situation on your bond leases and stuff. You receive enough money to pay your debt. That comes out always before you get anything else. So just be aware of that. The other one down there is your debt service. Projected balance on 12/31/2023 is $250,000. Once again, those taxes that you pay are figured up there for total levy of, property tax levy is $278,526 for a total revenue of $573,000. And then you have the bond leases over there. The next page is, once again, like I said, this is dealing with your total tax rate. So this is your operations fund, this is your debt service fund, and this is also your debt payment fund, all together to show your total tax or actual tax rate. Advertise, once again, you advertise high, and then usually they will bump you down is what ends up happening. So you can actually see what the advertised rate has been over the past 4 years, then what we have actually received for our actual tax rate. You can see that that's usually much lower. Our advertised rate is actually lower this year. Once again, it's because property values went up. And so therefore your rate does not have to be as high in order to capture the same amount of funds that we're needing or same amount of revenue. So that's why it's a lower advertised rate than what it was last year. And you usually get that actual amount when they do our budget 1782 notice that comes through in December. And so then they'll tell us what the actual rate is at that time. So our fund balances as of July 31st, 2023, our education fund balance was $1,921,301.63. As I've shared with you before, this is the highest it's been since prior to 2019. And that's as far back as my records, my Excel spreadsheet has gone. We do have more records than that, but that's as far back as I've collected data. Operations fund is at $1,704,088.29. That is the same way. That's the highest we've been since prior to 2019. Rainy day fund balance is $1,244,452.85. Like I said, our projected enrollment for October 2nd, 2023 is 1385. That's what we built our budget around. At this point in time, like I said, we're around 1426. So that's more. And as you can see there, what you get for that next line, that's how much we're getting per ADM from the state. It's $6,915.82.
When is the ADM count date again?
ADM count this year is going to be October the 2nd,
Okay.
which kind of puts a little bit of strain on the negotiations because you're required to have that done by a certain time in November. Usually that count was in September, and so it gave us a little bit more of a window. They didn't move the negotiation date back, so we'll probably try to get as firm of a count as we can to try to get those negotiations done before then. And then there you see the projected cash balances on December 31st, 2023. Education fund is $1,899,517.26. Operations fund balance is $1,706,398.58. I will tell you my projections right now, that's going to be much lower than that because we're finishing up the life skills classroom at the high school. And that's about $300,000. So rainy day fund balance is $1,244,452.85. And that is your budget for this year. Any questions that I can answer for you?
I have a few little quickies.
Sure.
Is ADM average daily membership?
Yes, average daily membership.
Okay.
Yep.
And when you use the pronoun they, you said all four funds, these are all four funds together and you advertise high, but then they bump them down. Is they, the DGL?
The Department of Local Government Finance, yeah.
Yeah,
So they work our budget
Department-
and then they say, this is what you can afford.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you advertise, you're gonna advertise on Gateway. You don't have to advertise in the paper anymore,
No.
do you?
You do not.
So you're not gonna put it in the news. So it's just on Gateway if people want to.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I
The
thought.
capital projects and the bus replacement plan legally has to be placed on our website. So it will be put on there. So,
Will it be on your school website?
yes, school.
As well as just in Gateway, in the Gateway?
Yeah.
thing? Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. And, what's the New Harmony debt?
My understanding is that's when New Harmony came on board,
When they
when we
integrated
merged.
into the school?
There was a
And
debt
then-
New Harmony had
Yeah.
already that we acquired.
Oh, it's there,
Building
it's
at school.
the acquired debt from the.
It's close to
system.
going completely off, isn't it?
It should be.
And it's close to be finished, right?
I think so.
Okay. and it's close to be
I actually thought it was finished a year ago, but I didn't.
Don't quote me on this, but I'm thinking this might be the last year.
Oh, okay.
What is our estimated enrollment now? Did you say 1425 or 14?
When Jody and I looked at it on Friday, it looked like about 1426. But like I said, at this time of the year, you have a lot of movement and stuff. And so,
Why is that up so much this year from last year? I mean, is there anything, is the classes up? I know we had a small senior class last year.
yeah, we graduated a small senior class. We've got a large kindergarten group come in. So we're back over 100 with our kindergartens across the district. Our sixth grade over here is about 76, I think.
Sixth grade both is really high,
Yeah.
it's the largest
It's
class.
the largest class, yeah. And then we had a lot of kids, for us, a lot of kids came in from St. Wendell this year. So, I mean, it really wasn't any specific grade level or anything. It's just families looked at us and thought that we were doing a good job.
It surprised me. I was hoping we'd have 1400.
And like I said, there's a lot of time between now and October
Yeah.
2nd. So that's why I'm always excited about it, but I always kind of hold my breath as well. So
When do we get that in district, out of district?
Typically around January,
Okay, it's not till June.
and
Yeah, it's gotta be after.
yeah, count used to be in September, we used to get it around December, January, so I anticipate it still, even with a later count, of seeing it sometime early in the year. That's always really good, a really interesting report to look at, to see not only where our students that live in our residence going, if they're going to other schools, but where we're attracting from as well.
And so once again, once we get all this loaded up to Gateway, before we actually push send, Dr. Harmon will go in, check it to make sure there's so many little places that you can make a mistake that has, big ramifications. So it's always good to have somebody else kind of going back and checking it and overseeing it. So, Mr. President, we need approval to publish that advertisement.
So I'll entertain a motion to publish the 2024 budget.
I'll make a motion to publish the 2024 budget.
In a second,
I'll second.
a motion by Mrs. Will, seconded by Mr. Colley. Any other discussion on the item? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0.
Next up this evening, you have a personnel list for each of the buildings for the 23-24 school year. Also included in the personnel list are the requested hours for the cafeteria staff for 23-24 as well.
All right, looking for a motion to approve the personnel lists for each building.
Make a motion to approve the personnel list.
Second.
I'll second.
They
Motion-
are on our computer, on our drive right now.
Motion by Mr. Oakley, seconded by Mrs. Bowers. Any other discussion on the item?
I'm sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0.
Next up this evening, you have the professional leave request there. The first one is for me to attend the ISBA collective bargaining seminar coming up this Friday. Shannon McMunn and Amanda Merkley to attend the Indiana SPED Leadership Symposium. Aaron Kester and Shannon McMunn to attend the Safe Crisis Management Training. Amanda Merkley to attend the Indiana Association of School Psychologists Fall Conference. Amanda Lynn and Jody to attend the IASBO Audit Seminar. And then Amanda Lynn, Amy Motes, and Jody to attend the Voice System Amplify Live training.
Looking for a motion to approve professional leave.
I'll make a motion to approve professional leave.
In a second.
I'll second.
Motion by Mrs. Will, seconded by Mrs. Bowers. Any other discussion on?
Okay, maybe I know this, maybe I've been told this before. Why does it say Medicaid in there?
So we receive money from Medicaid for students that receive services. And so that money is then, it kind of comes through special education, but we as a district can
Use it for
decide,
different things.
yeah, we can
Okay.
use it for different things. Yep.
And what's Safe Crisis Management? What is that training?
That, I believe, I'll have to get with you, but I believe it's kind of like the de-escalation training for, special education kids and those kinds of things.
Anytime we would need to put hands on a child
Okay.
for any reason. We've been using a different model that isn't really as conducive to students. And so this is actually a train the trainer. So both Mrs. Kester and Mrs. McMunn would be trained trainers that they could come back and train our staff.
Yeah, this is a different system than what we've been trained on in the past.
You've probably heard CPI.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what exactly it stands for. I don't remember, but
That's the way we used to do it 30, 40 years ago.
no.
No.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0.
So down in the reports and information, we kind of talked a little bit about the district fund changes. I just kind of wanted to see if there were any questions on that tonight or anything. So like I said, that mainly includes the cafeteria fund as well as the textbook fund coming back to central office. So
Is there a reason why they decided to do that, or is it just something that comes up every year?
yeah,
Make sure we know they're working on it.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we had a really good meeting this year with our 2024 health insurance quote. Scott Schaus is who we work with, who's our, representative or advocate that goes out and looks. We have no insurance increase this year. Our claims were very, very good. And so that benefited us greatly. And so it's nice when this happens, especially going into negotiations, because that means that anything we put towards negotiations or salaries will go into their pocket. They're not going to lose anything as far as insurance. I believe I shared with you that there was a second year option to lock in at 9%. We thought that would be the maximum that would be 9%. However, Scott came back and he said that was what it would be. It would be 9%. And so we're going to go back to the committee and talk to them, because we've talked about, we kind of like to maybe do a gamble and say, let's try to see what happens. So this year, I think we were about 5% increase. If we had made some changes, we would have only had a 1% increase, but we felt like we didn't need to make those changes at this point in time. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. All of this is really just dependent upon our claims, but we've really tried to work hard in getting into faculty meetings and getting into our schools and pushing the clinic, because that definitely saves us money for our people to go be using the clinic. So.
It was a good thing I wasn't on the school insurance.
Yep. So Michelle's going to talk a little bit about the 1003 waiver.
So you'll remember last year the Department of Education kind of put out the ruling of only 3 e-learning days allowed each school year. We had already approved our calendar with the professional days as they were. So we reached out, and all schools have the opportunity to submit what they call a 1003 waiver. It's a request for consideration to have a different in how the accountability, and there's lots of different rules that you could do a waiver for. One of them is instructional time. And so we submitted the waiver last year and then again this year to ask to approve our instructional time through minutes instead of days. And so there's still standards, the DOE sets those standards that you have to have a minimum number of minutes for the elementary level, and then there's a different number for the junior high school. And so as long as you meet those minimum levels, then you're meeting your 180 instructional days, even if it's not within 180 days. So we submitted that to the State Board of Education. They voted, that has been approved. And we do exceed the minimum standards still, even with their calendar, with the 5 this year, 5 professional development days, we still exceed that. So there's still some room, and we still could take 3 weather days if we needed them. And there's still some room in there if for some reason we had a really bad winter, that we have some playroom there still too.
Okay. Any questions about that? The last one is just, you asked for me to put this kind of on the agenda each month to just have a conversation and discussion about it. And it's the 2024 bond projects. We had all of our consultants come in during the last meeting and kind of talk through those. So I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you guys.
Well,
Go ahead.
I know that I think we've all expressed interest about the science rooms, right? And
I do.
the
I didn't know if
fact that
anybody else did.
No,
Okay.
it's been mentioned
Okay.
by multiple people,
And
including myself.
And the
CTE.
shop and, yeah,
Yes.
that CT, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The
So-
shop and welding and that.
So both of those projects were on the list. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think they're
They're
well
probably-
within what I would consider a high priority. And
I thought one time we were gonna vote on or make those things high priority. Has that already been done?
we can have a motion and second, and
I would probably wait till the next meeting and actually have it on the agenda that you're
Yeah,
going to
that's
approve
true.
those, rather than
with the
just.
new rules on patron concerns. But then we should at least discuss it and say that we're going to bring that to the next meeting. If everybody's,
I'm in agreement
yeah,
on that.
I'm in agreement with it, so I think that's something we want to do, those 2 projects.
Well,
Move
I'd
those
write
to
the CTS, whatever is one, science 2, so hopefully both of those would be things that would be.
Do you want to throw something else out there that kind of I've been thinking about since the working session? With our operations and our debt services, that's where we get our total tax rate. That's,
Mhm.
I was wondering about, I know they brought up, I think it was Stiefel brought up that if we wanted a truly level tax rate, we'd be looking at 5 to 7 million. Now that would be lowering our debt service at the expense of our ever increasing operations fund, because that growth quotient increases that every year. I mean, personally, that's more what I would like to see us do. Is there any drawback from doing that though? Because you're lowering your debt services, which is far reaching into the future.
Right. And as far as you would have no real security over inflation.
The next time your bond comes up, I mean,
Right.
it's going to keep creeping down.
Right.
But the way that growth quotient works with this is constantly, I mean, we can sit here and sit on our hands and that tax rate just keeps creeping up all the time. And it drives me crazy. And this is a little bit of control that we would have over that, at least in the short term.
I guess to me though, you are turning away some money that's meant to be an inflationary type. So,
You would have to manage your operations fund much better and kind of probably hold some back for those
yeah,
unforeseen.
and basically you're just shifting the dollar too.
I
Right.
mean, that's kind of the way I looked at it. That's
Mhm.
why I wanted to throw it out there and see if somebody tells me if I'm looking at it wrong.
I wouldn't consider, because I think we can not ask for that increase as well. I wouldn't,
That's why I wasn't sure either. I know it.
but then it wouldn't go into our operations fund, so any raises, inflation, all the above we would never get an increase from the property tax on
And
that.
once you don't take that increase, you lose it forever.
Yeah,
It
it makes more
compounds
sense to
itself.
Yeah,
continue to
right.
take that increase to me and maybe scale back a couple projects, or maybe we can do all we need to do and still maybe 5 to 7 million instead of that 10 million I know we were initially looking at.
I know one of the projects we talked about, and it still swims around my head, is the solar project, as far as how beneficial, if it's beneficial, to me, everything, when they're talking, it seems like it's all positive. And then when I talk with other people that look at it, maybe it might not be as positive as others.
You have to be willing to take that initial hit and know it's going to take a while to get it back.
That's
And that-
basically what
And that's the way I looked at it 7 years ago, whenever we installed them on our house, is my bill from CenterPoint right now is $20. It's a metering fee. That's it. And I've got my panels paid off, and now I'm just making money. Or I'm avoiding costs.
You need help spending it, or?
No,
Yeah.
no, I've got that covered. So to me, that's an excellent project that also keeps you from getting into inflation on utility costs, which are not going away.
That's one of the things I think we probably need to decide down the line sometime, at least dip our toe in it or
Right.
whatever. And at one point, we talked about doing it at South Terrace being the most reasonable place to do it. But I really like the idea of doing it at the high school and involving the classes and planning it and stuff
Mhm.
too. I think that would just be,
Yeah, the
because I
agrivoltaics.
really think that's gonna be a thing in the future for.
Yep.
And maybe there's a compromise there where the high school kids still get to do it,
That-
but that's
that
out
could
there.
be
So, I
too,
mean,
yeah,
you know,
Because you don't get as good a return to high school as
Yeah.
you would at some
Correct.
centers.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable with the one school. See how it goes.
yeah, I would too, and I wouldn't have feelings about one from the other, except I just like the idea of involving the.
I did too, especially when they were here talking about it, and I thought that seems neat. And then when I expressed the idea to some farmers I know, they really thought, like, have you lost your mind? That's like going backwards in time.
You mean-
Just because
you
the
mean
way
putting
you
solar
would
in.
harvest everything and that you would be blocking sunlight, it's like, we've come a long way in farming and now it sounds like you're gonna go, you know, they were just like, that seems crazy. So I thought, well, really, maybe you do need to talk to FFA and
Cause you can't get
Well,
the big
decide if
equipment in
they're
there
like-
and.
Oh,
Yes.
where they be doing that at? You mean by them doing the?
yes, because you're not gonna get
stuff
equipment under
in,
the panels.
okay.
I think it
I thought you
definitely
meant
be a
just solar in
conversation.
general when you said that first.
Yes.
Yeah, we wouldn't be the first to
Maybe-
be trying
maybe it
it.
would be
There's
a good
whole,
thing.
right, so there's
Maybe,
more information there would be interesting to.
maybe it would be a good thing to start it, if we were going to do it and go to South Terrace and then have our FFA do a unit or a chapter or do something on solar, looking at the effects it would have if you do it within a field or within a agriculture situation. That would-
Yeah, I think it would be really good idea to talk to Mrs. Bender and get the Purdue Extension services. They can offer a lot of knowledge on that front to be able to see if we can incorporate that into our curriculum.
Yes, absolutely.
And keep in mind, coming back to that 5 to 7 million, if you go that direction, you would be able to probably 5, 6 years out, come back and probably borrow again. 'Cause
You'd
you would
just be incurring a lot of the same costs again that.
You'd be incurring
Does
your
it
legal
make sense to
fees.
have those
Yeah.
same fees
Yeah.
twice?
Mhm.
But it's another gamble.
But I mean, it
Like-
does kind of do what you've tried to do in the past, Vince, of kind of staggering and having
I know.
those
Yeah.
every 5 years or so, you know, so.
Yeah, and I
Because
don't
this
want-
is your longest, this is the 10-year one. And, you know, and we've been very blessed with the ESSER funds, because I mean, we could have been sitting here replacing the HVAC,
Boilers and-
yeah,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
so.
it could have all been accounted for.
I talked to a gentleman who was, actually, he was a coach for me many years ago at North Posey. He's just retired as superintendent at Harrisburg, Illinois. And he is now working for a building company. He's in charge of their Illinois section or whatever, but Harrisburg is the first buildings they build in over there. He says it's the absolute best way to build a building. Of course, he's selling it and stuff too, but supposedly they go in and you tell them what they want, they will do the architecture, they will do everything there, and you give them the keys, they build it, and you buy it from them.
To design build.
And if it's not there, and if it's not exactly what you want, you don't pay for it, or they fix it to where it is what you do want.
Which that's what Larry and I had talked a little bit, and I said that is the process we used on the gyms. We ran into a lot of issues. Perhaps it was just who we were dealing with.
Was that continual issues or whatever? The way he talked, they didn't even look at it. They had nothing to do with it until it was, they gave them the approval, and then once it was done, they'd come in and they'd,
I honestly can't remember exactly what the issues were.
Because I told him, I said, that sounds like
There were a
something.
lot of in construction.
I said, this sounds like a lot of things that we do. And he said, no, the way this is done, it's done in the South a lot. And they've just started doing it in, I think Tennessee is a big area for it. They just started doing it in Illinois. And he says, I don't think they have any in Indiana with this particular thing. Or maybe they do it through different companies. that do something like
The
that.
same company that you guys used for the gyms, I had at Twin Lakes, and when I walked in, it was design build as well, and they were $1.5 million over budget when they came back to us for the projects. And so then they said, well, we got to cut projects, and you know, so it's at that point in time, what they thought was going to get bidded wasn't right.
Yeah, that's what I asked this guy too. I said, well, what happens if we do all this and then all of a sudden the price goes up on something? He said, that's our problem.
So like on that situation
Right.
there, we had the building we had was like a 1960s building that was solar, and the solar then heated up rooms of rocks. And so we did not, and the plan didn't show where this room was, and they got into the construction, found that room of rocks, and the cost, it was from floor to ceiling of rocks. They had to cover the cost to have all that removed. Whereas if it had not been a design build, that would have been a change order for us to have it all removed and stuff. We would have to pay for that. So I mean, there are pros and cons to both ways.
Well, I just thought of this down the line. It's not something we want to do now, but if you did do something down the line 4 or 5 years, bring his company in and talk about it, because of course, one thing I do know, this guy was a coach for me, and he was very, very good at coaching. He could sell ice to the Eskimos if he wanted to, but I mean, and he wasn't even trying to sell it to me, and he was.
You just tell me about it.
I did have a couple other things for the good of the cause. The gym mural and the foyer updates are top notch. And I wanted to thank everybody involved, and I'll just stick to our administration because I know I'll forget somebody if I don't. But Mrs. Duvall, Mr. Fisher, and Wayland did an excellent job leading through that process.
I went out and Ms. Duvall went over it, and I think it's going to be extraordinary. We talked about this a long time ago when you first started about doing the videos and stuff, and I think this is,
We finally got
it's
the
a
money.
great way of putting a
It's a good
lot of
way.
stuff on a very small area.
Yeah.
And making it look good while you're doing it.
Anything else for the good of the cause?
So my understanding is that science classrooms, CTE classrooms will bring to the next board meeting for an actual approval of that, and then we'll get Hafer to start working on preliminary designs.
Mhm.
Do you want an agritonics presentation on the agricultural side of solar? I know there was a discussion, but I think it moved on, and I didn't know if that was something that you
I think
wanted
we
more
need to have-
information
It
on.
depends, definitely if we're gonna go on and do some solar or whatever, I think we should. Maybe,
I think it'd be good to have Robin
So that's
and
what they're gonna talk to them first.
the
talk to Rob.
county extension
would
get
it,
together and
yeah.
discuss that.
would maybe contacting Purdue, see if they have something already? in
Yeah, the county
force or something?
extension.
That would be.
They do, yeah,
Mhm.
and that was part of the conversation and possible grants for that, which is why maybe we would, if there was like a interest, we said at South Terrace, because the rate is better, then do you delay possibly your junior high? Because we might be able to get grants to cover that part of it once you get kids, if there's interest there.
So do you want to be part of those conversations, or you just want Robin and Purdue Extension to kind of?
To me, I think they discuss it and
Okay.
report for that.
Because they could present something back to us.
Right. Look for a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mrs. Jewell, second by Mr. Colley. You are adjourned.